Now, Adam Silver has caused quite a stir in WNBA world because he just went on the Today Show and he was talking about the WNBA CBA. And here's what he had to say. He said, "I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA."
The WNBA is officially in disarray. Commissioner Kathy Engelberg and NBA CEO Adam Silver are allegedly butting heads. Owners are terrified, players are furious, and the survival of the league could depend on one individual. Caitlin Clark. The irony is awful. The same athlete who saved the league could now be the cause. It rips itself apart. So, who is truly losing control in this situation? The conflict between Kathy Engelberg and Adam Silver is not new, but it's blowing out in public this time.
Increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it. So what he's talking about here is the revenue share that the players have been fighting for. So essentially what the players have said in these negotiations is that they want to be paid more when it comes to their salary, but they also want a higher percentage of the revenue split because currently they are only getting 9% of that revenue split. But we have went over it a million times, you guys. The structure of the WNBA, the finances in the WNBA, and the structure of the finances in the NBA.
What about the trigger? Yes, you read correctly. Caitlin Clark, the same player that increased viewership, filled venues. Having made the WNBA a weekly hot issue has now inadvertently been the catalyst for a full-fledged. The players' union and the league's leadership are engaged in a power war. Let's dissect this and play. In English, the WNBA is currently negotiating a collective bargaining agreement, or CBA. Players and league executives argue there over money, salaries, bonuses, and, above all, in essence, who gets how much of the pie through revenue sharing. Adam Silver appeared on the Today Show, a major television program. He made a statement that left everyone speechless. "I think sharing isn't the correct way to look at it, because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. The players will earn more money throughout this cycle, and they are deserving of it."
Their WNBA, as you know, they're calling for players in the WNBA are calling for more money. They 9%, I believe, accordingly. They get 9% of total revenue compared to roughly 50% of the revenue of NBA players. Should they be getting a larger share of the revenue in the WNBA?
Yes. I mean, I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
However, not a higher proportion. Translation: yes, you will receive a raise, but don't anticipate being seated at the adult table. Kathy Engelberg's nightmare started at that point. Because as soon as Silver said that the WNBPA, that's the players' union, lost it, they responded with a caustic post that specifically tagged Adam Silver, stating, "I don't want to share Adam Silver." Yes, the official account. Not a fan page or a burner. The real WNBA Players Association went all petty on Instagram, but what followed was what truly made it ugly. The league's spokeswoman, essentially, claimed that the union's assertion was deceptive and that the WNBA had already made an unlimited revenue-sharing offer. Plan linked to league expansion. To put it another way, we offered you a contract, but you didn't read it. As a result, Kathy Engelberg is now stuck in the midst, attempting to appease irate players while avoiding a public altercation with her own boss, Adam Silver, who, in theory, has the majority of the money. Because this is the part that nobody loves to talk about. The WNBA doesn't even own. Only 42% of the league's operations are owned by itself. The NBA owns an additional 40%. The remaining 18% belongs to. Back in 2022, when the WNBA was essentially pleading for funds to outside investors.
What the solution is. Now, in true WNBPA fashion, they decided to clap back on their Instagram account to Adam Silver's remarks. And they posted this. They said, "Don't want to share at Adam Silver." So they literally tagged Adam Silver, used a screenshot from this interview, and posted this in their Instagram story. You guys, I do not know what they think doing that will accomplish. You know how there's that meme where it's like 0 days of whatever? It's like 0 days of
professional. Nope. Amusing. Indeed.
was like, we call BS and we see you. It's like, I don't understand what posting this does besides stir up more drama. People are like, ooh, look at them. Look, it's like, no, we're acting like children. Should be acting like a professional organization. You have to work out these things at the negotiating table, not on social media. Like, this is so childish to me. And when I saw this, it just reminded me of how draining it is sometimes to cover this league, because it's like seriously, truly, really.
This implies that Engelberg cannot give the players a 50-50 revenue split like the NBA. The players want to play the one player who is literally keeping. Adam Silver turned on the lights. This explains why all of the room's owners, investors, and sponsors are currently in a state of silent panic. Because we're looking at something that could happen if the players dig in and won't play without a new contract. There has never been a lockout in WNBA history, and the timing couldn't be worse. The next CBA deadline is coming up. Everyone will be terrified on Halloween, I promise. The WNBA claims they're fighting, demanding equity. They say they're underappreciated. They want more revenue from the league, not just pay increases. On theory, that seems reasonable. However, the problem is that the WNBA has never turned a profit, even with Caitlin Clark. Filling venues, increasing viewership, and preserving ticket sales. Let's consider that. You're losing money each season. Adam Silver is arguing that your players are calling for a larger portion of the losses. However, in PR-friendly terms, and Cathy Engelberg is making every effort to avoid saying that aloud because she is aware of how. The players, however, don't give a damn about numbers. They're pointing to Caitlin Clark. The internet would drag her down quickly. Look at the crowds, look at the ratings, look at the jersey sales, they say. We're finally relevant. We deserve more. This is where things become awkward. They're right. Because without Caitlin Clark, if it weren't for her, this conversation wouldn't be taking place. She gives the owners the ability to bargain a new media agreement. She's the reason new sponsors appeared. She's the reason ratings increased by 400% and attendance doubled. Caitlin Clark's success is the source of every indicator the players are using to demand higher compensation. Because of this, the whole thing is both terrible and humorous. Because now Adam Silver's essentially said to Cathy Engelberg, "Congratulations, your players won a raise, and it's your golden child's fault." The league became dependent on the Caitlin Clark effect. Now it's paying the price. Everything fell apart when she was hurt earlier this year. Ratings fell. Talk shows ceased bringing up the league. ESPN's coverage of the WNBA was so poor that they had to cancel one of their. After only a few weeks, the owners received a harsh reality check from that injury. Without Caitlin Clark, Adam Silver is undoubtedly sitting in his office. You can sure he observed that the buzz vanishes overnight. Thinking, see, this is why we're not doing a 50% revenue share. When you remove her from the equation, the figures drastically decline. In the meantime, Adam Silver is chuckling softly while the players are saying, "No, this league is growing because of all of us." Really? Because of the ratings we saw without her, Cathy Engelberg is caught between two deadlines. Bombs, the expectations of her players, and Adam Silver's reality check. Every public comment now looks similar to damage control. The league charges the players, while the union accuses the league of running out of time. Of misrepresenting offers, supporters are taking sides, and sponsors are anxiously observing from the sidelines, contemplating if they should even extend their contracts for the upcoming year. The whole thing seems like a soap opera, except with more drama in the boardroom and fewer baskets. And underneath it all, Caitlin Clark's name keeps coming up like a ghost. Because she has become the focal point of every dispute, whether she likes it or not. The evidence of achievement, the justification for increased compensation, and the negotiating power in every situation. Even former WNBA players like Rebecca Lobo is acknowledging it. In the past, there was a genuine possibility that the NBA might cancel and remark, "This is too much." However, these franchises and women are suddenly worth too much. The only reason they're worth one player's fame is the reason for too much now. You can sense the fear in such comments. Everyone is aware of the reality. However, nobody wants to say it aloud. Caitlin Clark is essential to the league's survival, which is a terrible situation for any commissioner to be in. Adam Silver, Kathy Engelberg, and the players are all aware of this. And now they're arguing about who should be compensated and given credit for her influence. The funniest part: the WNBA continues to lose money despite all the controversy. Their media deal has doubled to around $160 million. However, that pales in comparison to the NBA's billions. The WNBA's 9% revenue share sounds awful. However, it becomes nearly useless when you realize there is no profit to share. But try saying that to the participants' union. They are calling for openness and accuse the league of concealing its actual numbers, as though there were a secret vault of earnings while seated in a New York office. One player even claimed that the NBA was exploiting them for financial gain. They're providing you with the money you need to survive. Kathy Engelberg is unable to publicly address this issue. The NBA has been supporting the WNBA up for almost 30 years. If Adam Silver ever said, "We're done," the league would fall apart by the following summer. And yet, here we are. The players are threatening to walk, and the commissioner's office is secretly freaking out over what occurs if they truly do. The league's whole empowering image is in jeopardy. The same narrative they've been promoting. If the 2021 season doesn't happen, the idea that women's basketball is finally flourishing could backfire. And guess who will be held accountable? Clark, Caitlin. Because if the 2021 season doesn't happen, every sports media site will claim that it all began when the Caitlin. Everything changed during the Clark era. Not because she did anything bad, but because her success made everyone aware of how flawed the basis of the league was actually. She set such high standards that even the owners are now unable to meet them. Thus, the WNBA officials are in a state of complete panic. Kathy Engelberg is attempting to be polite, while Adam Silver is attempting to sound polite. The players are making disparaging tweets. Caitlin Clark is probably in Iowa, trying to concentrate on her jumper, totally oblivious to the fact that she has unintentionally sparked a conflict between union representatives and billionaires. Tension between Kathy Engelberg and Adam is the source of new reports every day. The instability isn't getting better, it's becoming worse. Silver, and now it's more of a power struggle than a leadership dispute. What began as a few casual